Hi there, everyone. I'm Ron. And I'm Welcome to the second episode of Checkered, and we'll get started.
Meanwhile,
Some surprising Cup news this week, and we decided to start out with one of the most surprising here, and that was Travis Kvapil has been charged with assault, and that was on the 8th, and Kvapil was visited by Mooresville officers for reports of domestic violence, and he was charged with assault of a female and false imprisonment, and he's been held at the
Iredell County Jail.
Yeah, I didn't know. I guess that's somewhere up near Mooresville. But yeah, pretty surprising actually.
That is because
I don't really see because we all know about the Mayfield incident, right, where he was charged with all that. And Kvapil doesn't seem like that kind of guy. I guess he. I don't know.
I think
it's disappointing, really.
it is, and I was gonna say something, but I'm not gonna go there. But yeah, no, this is not something. You know, the drug usage is common.
Yeah.
I don't know why that's funny.
I don't know, but it's disappointing that this stuff has to happen, and you never want to see it. I mean, especially football's got its issues with this.
Yes.
On a much larger scale, but
And a lot stronger scale, yeah.
yeah, but in any scale, it's still unfortunate, and it shines a bad light on Travis Kvapil, and really he's a nice guy from what I hear.
Yeah.
And I guess is what the controversial part of this is that they're going to let him race at Charlotte, and that's
Unprecedented.
it is. I think, I mean, as much as I like Travis Kvapil, as much as I think he's a good guy, I think he needs to be suspended. He needs to learn from his mistakes.
Yes, and a note on that is I do think that given the opportunity to suspend Travis Kvapil, I think that it would be a perfect opportunity to put Landon Castle back in a BK Racing Toyota.
Okay, yeah.
You know, so that way they can't use the excuse that they don't have a driver to replace him, because we both know there's no shortage on talent out there to drive.
Right. Okay.
All right.
The reason why we're here today, for the most part, is that Kevin Harvick won last week at Kansas.
Woo! My dad's going to be happy about that. That was a great race.
It was.
Kevin Harvick qualified on the pole for the first time since 2006. A strong car most of the race, actually.
Right.
Watched the race, really strong. Gil Martin was worried about if the car was in traffic, it'd be tight or it'd be loose. They didn't know how it would handle. And that motivation kept them going, and it kept the car out front. Third win from the pole in his career. It's his third win of 2013 and his 22nd Cup career win. He led for 138 laps, which is the most, 8 times, got maximum points, and moves him up third in the Sprint Cup standings behind Jimmy Johnson and Matt Kenseth, respectively.
I'm going to talk about Kevin Harvick first, and that was really a dominant race. Mm-hmm. That was all him the whole time. He had it in the bag from the start, and the fact that he hasn't had a pole since 2006 is kind of weird, because Kevin Harvick's been good. Like, he's won a lot of races between 2006 and now.
Yeah, and it was RCR's first pole since 2007.
Wow,
and
really?
It doesn't seem
right
because they've won so many races since. You know, so I had to go back and I had to check, and it's true. You know, first pole since 2007. Harvick's first pole since 2006. Shocking.
And looking at the chase standings, you said he moved in behind Jimmy Johnson and Matt Kenseth.
Yep.
So, do you think right now this is a 3-horse race instead of just Jimmy Johnson and Matt Kenseth? Do you think Kevin Harvick has a chance here?
I think going into Kansas, it was Kyle Busch, it was Jimmy Johnson, and it was Matt Kenseth. And Harvick was fourth, and I think he would have made a valiant effort, but I think Separation Sunday wouldn't have worked in his favor. But with this win, it moves him into third. yes, he's still, I believe he's 25 points behind the leader, Jimmy Johnson, so he's quite a ways behind.
Yeah.
But I think that the 3-horse race has kicked Busch out and put Harvick in.
Just to continue with this, with the chase, it's after Harvick, it's Jeff Gordon, Kyle Busch, Greg Biffle, Kurt Busch, Earnhardt Jr. That's up to 8th.
Right.
Earnhardt Jr. is kind of out of it now. I touched on that last week. Is how I feel I really can't believe he's in the chase for how he's driving.
Yes.
Jeff Gordon's making a push there in 4th place, though. That's a surprising thing for me because I am a Jeff Gordon fan, and I think that he's worked his way as much as he can. But the whole thing with him was he was kind of awarded into the chase.
Yes. Yeah.
And I guess he's making the most out of it as much as he can.
It should be noted, 2 things before we move on. Looking at the points, Kenseth's only 3 points behind Johnson, but we were talking about Jeff Gordon, and the tides can be changing because Jeff Gordon recently won the pole award for this week's Charlotte race, which we'll have more information for that race coming up.
All right, so that's a wrap up from last week. Let's move on here. Blake Koch is making his NASCAR Sprint Cup debut. That's one of 2. The other one, very important, we'll get to later.
Yes.
But he's making his debut. He'll ride in the number 95 Ford Fusion. That's the Levine family.
Yep.
It's kind of in conjunction with Go Green Racing. And he has 82 nationwide starts, and he's got a best finish of 14th. And that's what I wanted to touch on here. With these nationwide drivers coming up.
Yes. I know exactly where you're going.
I said it last week too. They're rushing them up to the Sprint Cup Series, and they shouldn't be doing that. I mean, this kid, he finished 14th. I mean, that's a great effort, but I don't think 14th's one finish, not even in the top 10, is enough to make a Sprint Cup start. It sounds so stupid.
And I really couldn't agree with you more. Not that Cook's getting a full-time ride, but to get a Cup start, I mean, and
his best finish is 19th in the Camping World Truck Series. If you're making a start in the Sprint Cup Series, I mean, at least make 1 win each.
At 82 starts in the Nationwide Series. And he hasn't had a top 10 yet. And I understand the quality of the team, but
it's not good.
It doesn't cut it. It doesn't excuse it.
No. But the other person making the Sprint Cup debut this week, Travis.
Number 42, Kyle Larson, who's highly, highly anticipated.
Yeah, this is like number 1 prospect right here for NASCAR.
Super, super, super talented driver. He will be driving the Phoenix Racing number 51 Chevrolet SS.
Right.
An important Target will be on board. Big name sponsor sponsoring his car, which we all know, as we stated last week. Larson will be driving the 42 car next year, full-time replacing Juan Pablo Montoya, who's moving to the IndyCar series. This is his first full season in the NASCAR Nationwide Series.
Yeah.
And we talked about Cook and how 82 starts and only a 14th as the highest finish. He's had 29 starts, 8 top 5, 15 top 10, which is good. That's not a bad...
I mean, 15 top 10s, though.
Yeah.
Compared to
Cook, who had
82 and 0 top 10s.
Exactly. I mean, he's a league ahead of Cook, but he's still, he's only in his first full season nationwide, and he's going to be moving up Cup full time next year.
And yeah, it's sad because I want to see these guys in the Cup Series. I think everyone wants to see these nationwide guys in the Cup Series, see what they can do. But you gotta wait on them. You gotta let them grow and mature. Like Kyle Larson's a young kid.
He is. He's very.
You need to let that driving ability. He does have a lot of it, but you need to let that driving ability with these tougher guys mature a little bit. I mean, Martin Truex didn't make his start until he won a couple championships.
Yeah.
And look where he is now. He's finishing top 10. He's got a bid for the top 10 every week.
And the other thing too is, with those, I believe he has 2 championships in the Nationwide
Busch
Series,
right.
Formerly known as the Busch Series, and he's only had 2 Cup wins. And not to bash on Truex, he's a great guy, and I love him and I support him because he creates a good name for Manahawkin. But even after 2 championships, he's only won twice. So you get drivers like, Cook or Larson, who haven't won a single championship, and moving in so abruptly. So if we took that formula, it wouldn't work well. So.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're gonna be happy with this next set of news. Bobby Labonte is coming back to drive in the 47 car this weekend.
Yeah,
and
that's my boy.
Big fan for you.
Yeah, I'm.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting, I guess. His rib is healed. He's coming back. He's gonna make a drive.
Yeah.
I don't expect him to go out there and win the race. That would be cool, though.
That'd be amazing.
That'd be a great story if he came back and won the race.
Charlotte's a good Bobby Labonte track.
That was a long while ago. I remember it was the Jimmy Johnson and Bobby Labonte battle. They were right down the finish. And he does do good. That was at the 600, wasn't it?
That was.
And that was
when
big,
Jimmy Johnson won 3 in a row.
That was like crazy. Like I have more on Jimmy Johnson for Charlotte later.
Yes, you do.
I think you do too. I don't know. We'll see.
Probably.
But that was a great race. That was like the 600, and it was so long. I remember watching it. I was just like, is it going to be over yet? And it gets in like final 3 laps, and they're like neck and neck the whole time. It was crazy. It was a great race. But exciting that. And we got some other news outside of NASCAR, but still exciting nonetheless.
Yes. For those of you who don't know, Colin Braun recently set out in an attempt to break the Daytona International Speedway track record. Previously stood, at 210.364 miles per hour. It was set in 1987 by NASCAR's Bill Elliott for the Daytona 500 in a Ford Thunderbird. Colin Braun recently broke that record. We send out a big congratulations to him. The record now stands at 222.971 miles per hour, almost 223 miles an hour.
Wow.
In a Riley Technologies Daytona prototype, it should be duly noted that both cars, the last 2 track records held at Daytona, were both in Fords.
Yeah, wow. I mean, that's a lot of speed there to break that record. That's 12 miles an hour faster.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
That's 210 even today is unprecedented.
You won't reach that.
You're not gonna get
not,
that.
Not in the qualifying lap.
The fact that he's going 222 average.
Yeah,
is
that's
crazy.
Exactly.
That's not even his highest speed.
Exactly.
There.
That's. I mean, he at 223. We might as well just say.
Yeah, right.
Average miles an hour per lap around a 2.5 mile track. He's obviously reaching.
He's maxing out maybe 225.
He's got to.
And that's crazy, though.
It's impressive.
It is very impressive, and I'm glad you put that in there because that's a big set of news there, and everyone regards Bill Elliott, holy cow, this kid's Bill Elliott, the fastest man alive.
You know what they give him a nickname? I will give you 5 awesome points if you can tell me what Bill Elliott's nickname is.
Awesome Bill from Dawsonville. God, yeah, I knew I had that one. I could see it coming. I really had that one all the way.
That was impressive.
All right, so
5 awesome points.
I've had plenty of awesome points before. I don't need yours.
Oh.
Anyway, not a lot of nationwide news today, so just go play to fantasy.
Breaking every law.
Back to our fantasy picks for Charlotte. This is a big week in the chase. This is a very straightforward week in the chase, and me and you both know that. We're going to touch on that because I'm going to start out right now. My favorite is Jimmy Johnson, and I don't think that you can pick anyone else at Charlotte but Jimmy Johnson. It's not his home track, but it might as well be.
I mean, they used to call the track the Lowe's Motor Speedway, and part of me wants to think there was a reason for that.
Right, because he was crazy, man. I mean, we were just talking about that stupid race with him and Bobby Labonte, and he comes out on top. Jimmy Johnson had a stretch there. It was 3 or 4 or something in a row that he won, and I mean, he's still good.
Yeah, and he's not a driver that fades out at all. He's a good driver, and he's constantly he's always good at almost every track. I'm trying to think of a track right now where he just hasn't figured it out. And, I mean, I can think of the road courses, but they're minuscule in comparison to the technique of other tracks. So.
Right, but yeah, you can't go wrong with Jimmy Johnson, and
I agree with him. I'm going to go with Jimmy Johnson as my favorite this week I'm not picking Matt Kenseth this week because I was actually really disappointed with his performance at Kansas.
Oh, yeah. That was ridiculous.
I picked him to win. He's won the past 2 races. The 20 team's strong. I thought that, third race of the chase, he'd just shake it off. Fourth race of the chase, he'd just shake it off after not winning Dover. But it didn't really pan out for him, so I'm going to go with Jimmy Johnson. 6 career wins at a track. 6 doesn't sound like a lot, but you have to understand.
That's a lot of miles.
Yeah.
All the laps he's led.
Because both races are 600 and a 500.
Right.
So it's 1,100 laps a year that he's running, and he's won 6 of those races.
That's a lot. That's a lot of time spent in the lead, and you cannot go wrong with that. All right. I feel like when I do the dunce, remember I don't do fantasy. This is like really new to me. So for the dunce, I feel like I can just pick any old stupid driver. But let me tell you, Brian Vickers, not good at Charlotte.
No.
And he's been surprising this year.
Yeah, definitely.
He's done all right for what he's been this year, having what he has.
Won at New Hampshire.
Exactly.
Which is awesome.
And people are now tempted to pick him because he's doing so well this year, but do not pick him for Charlotte.
No.
Not good at all, from what I hear. And you really are tempted to pick him. He's a cheap guy, and he could race for the win.
Because MWR has definitely got their stuff figured out.
Definitely.
They've got strong cars. They haven't been as prolific as they were last year. But Vickers, he won earlier this year. He pretty much locked up his deal for next year. It's already been announced, but that win helped a lot. But had he been in the chase and racing the way he's raced at the chase races, he really hasn't been all that jumping out at.
And he's been really good at the short tracks. He's always been good at the short tracks. So if you're going to use him, save him for Martinsville or something. Save him when it's a smaller track.
Right.
Like New Hampshire, it's definitely a smaller track. It's definitely got
Bristol.
that short track feel. Exactly.
And Bristol, he's strong at Bristol. So we've got the Martinsville race coming up in a couple weeks.
So watch out. That may be my
favorite.
That might be my favorite. Brian Vickers might be my favorite for the Martinsville.
That's good.
That might be good.
All right.
But we'll see that.
My dunce for this week. Now, I should note that I may be strong with my favorite picks, but I'm not entirely strong with my dunce picks. Last week, my dunce was Kurt Busch. I cited it for his pit row incidents.
Yeah.
And he finished second, which is really embarrassing. So I'm going to be a little safer here.
But you can't blame yourself for that because Kurt Busch has been on and off these last few years.
That's true.
And
really
it's been mostly bad, but he's had his moments.
Yeah.
So you can't count him out, but at the same time, it's...
You can't rely on him
wholeheartedly. But anyway, continue, please.
My dunce for this week is Clint Boyer. He's very less than stellar chase so far. He really hasn't been all that standout.
Yeah, I picked him last week, and that was not a good pick. I thought, maybe he could pull something out, and he didn't. But you live and you learn.
He hasn't actually been all that good this year. I stated that before. Charlotte, outside of his win last year, is statistically his worst track that he ever races at.
Yeah.
But I should note, again, he did win last year, but he won on fuel mileage. And not to say that isn't to constitute for his success as a driver, but a fuel mileage win isn't as good as, say, Jimmy Johnson running down the leader or Casey Kane driving by on fresh tires. It's not the same. That's you gambling and you making out big time. So Clint Boyer, he's my dunce for this week.
All right, so my underdog was a really hard pick this week because Charlotte is you're either really good and really solid, or you're really not really all that good at Charlotte. And it was hard to pick one this week, and I eventually went up with Ricky Stenhouse.
Okay, good pick.
It's just I don't know. I feel like he can really put out a good finish if he tries because he's like one of the last nationwide drivers that's come up and actually has had wins and success in the nationwide series, and they brought him up. And I feel like he can do something in this Cup Series, and if he's going to do it, do it while everyone's watching in the chase,
Yeah.
So I mean, it's definitely I think it's a fair pick, but I mean, you cannot. You just pulled it up on your computer there. He's right there, middle of the pack, and I think there's That's what you want. You want someone that maybe middle of the pack could probably do something.
Yeah, he's got 3 races at Charlotte with an average finish of 20th. Again, that's not stellar, but 3 races. I mean, when you have, in math terms, when you've got low statistics, the average switches.
And he finished 14th in the May race.
Right.
And I think before that he finished 30th in the race before that. So he's dropped. He figured something out in that May race.
Yeah.
And who says he's not going to do even better this time?
Exactly. He was on the pole for the... Oh, I can't even think of it now. I believe it was the Michigan race. I could be wrong, and I probably am, but, he's getting it figured out. He hasn't lived to my expectations as a Cup driver.
No, I mean, not yet. No,
he's definitely got it. He's getting it worked out, though.
Yeah, you gotta give him some time.
All right.
Ooh, you like this pick, don't you?
My underdog pick for this week. I know earlier I said that I'm a big Bobby Labonte fan, and I was when I started watching this sport. Since recent times, after I took a hiatus after Toyota coming back to the sport, which we should do a story on some point.
Yeah, we'll do it. Eventually we will.
My new favorite driver became the Tasmanian Devil, Marcus Ambrose. Born in Tasmania, raced in Australia, wanted to become a Formula One driver, decided he liked stock car racing and raced in Australia's version of NASCAR called the Australian V8 Supercars Series. Came over in 2006. He's won on road courses. That oval win is still elusive, but Charlotte is statistically his second best racetrack, behind Sonoma and Watkins Glen, which would actually make it his third. Wow, that's a mess up. But he's not really expensive.
No,
but he'll get you a good pick. Finished 10th there earlier in the May race, and he's been stringing off some really professional top 10s, and he's done really well.
Yeah, he started that race right in the middle of the pack, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
And
he drove his way up.
Yeah. So
last week he finished 9th, so they're working on their 1.5 miler program.
And you can't mess with the statistics.
Yeah.
Being a baseball fan, I know you cannot mess with the statistics.
Right.
And in NASCAR, statistics are very straightforward. There's not a whole lot of statistics, and when you see them, they're very straightforward. So you cannot mess with them. And Marcus Ambrose is a prime example of that at Charlotte.
Yeah. Good.
All right, so again, I don't do fantasy. So if you're going to pick anything that I picked, do not go bragging to your friends that you got professional help, because you didn't. But this guy knows what he's talking about. So maybe you're going to pick Marcus Ambrose this week. So stay tuned. We got a couple announcements coming up, and then we'll shut it down for this week.
All right. Sounds good.
Okay, last week we said that you can join our NASCAR Inside Line League, and spots are still available for that league if you would like to join. Go to Facebook, www.facebook.com/PS3NTGIL. You can contact me and or Travis there. And you can also go to Twitter at NSRXML. That'll be our Twitter handle. You can also get us there. So, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or you'd like to join, please contact us at either of those pages. Domino was first there.
9.56 average finish.
Why didn't you pick him?
9 races. That's not good enough. That's not strong enough average. No, only 9. I mean, look at.
Yeah. And look at average start, 16.3. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not.
Yeah.
You don't want to do that. Lowest finish. No. That's not even important. He's only led 3 laps there.
Yeah. So
it's 3 top 5s. It's not good enough. Could be better. Definitely could be.
It could.
It could have been other picks.
All right. I guess that's it for this week.
That is.
So, since that's it, I guess I'll wrap it up. I'm Ian Roth.
I'm Travis Drayton.
That's it for this week on Green and White Checkered. We'll see you next week at
Talladega.
Ooh,
whoa!
I'm excited. I got really excited for Talladega. Anyway, we'll see you next time.
Thank you for watching.